What's up, guys? Back with um, Fat and Scrappy's Lucas De Silva, who's just sitting there with a big smile on his face and tape between his glasses. What's up with that?
Bro, it's state week, baby. And the last 3 years of my high school career had the tape on the old spectacles. So decided for old time's sake, let's throw some tape on these suckers and call it a day. They're perfectly good. Like they're fine. I just wanted to put tape on them just for it's
Because that's
state,
what
baby.
that's what you do. All right, I got you. All right, guys.
16 warriors in each weight class make the pilgrimage to the crappy ice box that is the Macon Arena. Only one will leave at the top of the podium. It's what every season culminates at. I'm throwing my damn notes. It's tough not to be hyped for the state tournament.
You're absolutely right. Today we are talking 1A. We have already talked 3A and 2A. And we had different takes on each of them. And 1A is going to be a little bit different as well. We're going to get to that in a minute. Let me start off by saying a tip of the cap to all the sponsors. There are sponsors for the state tournament. Um, if you don't know, a year ago, I felt really compelled that I thought that state champions should have brackets. So I contacted Rocky Kaufman, who is one of the sponsors with Maximus Management, commercial real estate, and he and I got together and we got the brackets made, and that was great. This year, they're doing a few other things that I think are really important, which is another step forward in making the experience really, really great. And several different sponsors stepped up to, you know, help both time, energy, and as far as money to kind of help in certain respects. And one of those is Takedown and Takedown apparel, which is it is apparel, right? Because they do a lot of different.
Yeah, they don't have a club anymore. So I guess it would just be apparel at this point.
Well, and I think Takedown, I could be wrong, but I mean, they're pretty big. I mean, I think they're affiliated with or a sponsor for like the Professional Fighting League, PFL.
Yeah, they're involved with the PFL. They do some decent stuff. It's pretty cool to see a brand that I know like and have some connection with just through the scene. Get to go do some of this stuff, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and last year I think they had a table back in Macon where people were warming up, and for those of you that don't know, I think it's owned right by Dustin Kawa, who was really really a top flight Georgia wrestler back in the day, went on to NC State and everything else. So all of these, I'm right about Dustin, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. I bet there's a bigger money man there, but I know Dustin is the main one that you see like talking and like doing more like promotional stuff for Takedown.
Well, and if for some reason I'm wrong in that it's not it's Dustin and a group of people, I apologize. I just only reason I brought up Dustin's name is because all of the sponsors, if you look at Certified Finishes, which is Dendy, the Dendy family, you look at a number of different ones that are sponsors this year. Bambinelli's Pizza and Pasta. All of these individuals, they have businesses and they are always looking to kind of be involved in everything else, but they have connections to the wrestling community. I mean, that's the reason that they're involved. That's the reason that they want to give back. So
And
if you
that's
see
what's
any of
awesome
them, it's good for the sport to have people who are involved and willing to give back to the sport.
for sure.
All right. Without going into any, I mean, I might bring up a sponsor here or there later on, but let's jump into 1A. And we're going to jump into 1A really by talking about, I mean, look, the
The
truth is,
team that's going to win 1A.
well, I don't want to get the cart before the horse, but the truth of the matter is, Social Circle is just, I mean, they were dominant. They were dominant last year. They've been dominant as they ran to a dual state title. They're just a dominant program.
Mhm.
Oh,
Prater and the whole staff there, Etheridge and the gang. I mean, they know how to coach a winning program. They do it year in and year out. And I know cart before the horse, but it would be very surprising to see that not happen this year.
yeah. Well, and they bring 12 to the state tournament. They have six sectional sectional champions. But just to give a shout out to a few other teams that you might hear their names as we go along the way. Toombs has 11 that have qualified. Um, you have Commerce who has 11 as well. You've got Bremen who has 10, and then several different programs that have 8 or 9 or things like that. We'll do the team kind of wrap up at the end. Let's jump into 106 to start. Does that work?
Of course.
All right. So as we look at the 106 pounders, um, you know, we have a familiar name in Hargrove because Cohen Hargrove, someone from Social Circle, won this weight a year ago, but it's not Cohen that's back at 106. It is his twin. Is it a twin?
I believe it's twin.
Okay. Gable
Could be
Hargrove.
wrong, but I believe it is twin.
Um, Gable Hargrove is at 106. You also have Bryce Raspberry from Fellowship Christian, Xander Ledford from Banks County. You have a number of different individuals, but Raspberry and Hargrove were your two sectional champs. How do you see kind of 106 playing out? What can we expect to watch?
106 in every class is a really fun weight to see, but as well specifically in 1A for me, it's always interesting. Of course, you get a lot of freshmen in 106 regardless, but
Mhm.
specifically in 106, smaller school populations, you're more likely to see guys that we're a little unfamiliar with. Dark horse for me, going to start there. Lane Fleming at Elbert, dude is a sophomore. When it comes to 106, I do like a sophomore, junior in the weight. Usually the experience, especially in terms of Macon and the arena, it will help. Albert's a really well coached program, so you know you're going to get a guy that knows how to take care of business, understands what Macon is like, understands the task at hand, and that's what I think you get with a guy like Lane Fleming. In
Yeah,
terms of,
I'll add to
sorry,
that real quick. I'll just add to that real quick. I think Fleming is one of many different Flemings, so that's also got to help. You know what I mean?
yeah, knowing Albert, I think it is similar to the Mills Mafia, where you just have a clan of Flemings
Or
in
Gerber
Albert.
Brothers. Yeah, yeah,
Is what it seems like. Uh, I bet some cousins too. I bet it's one of
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But point being, Um, in terms of winning it, I am going to give Gable Hargrove the nod, and I'm going to pick. I know Raspberry. Shout out to him. Faith Christian dude can go. I'm going to give the runner up to Benjamin Giddens at Fitzgerald. I like that kid a lot. Freshman. Again, seems to be able to handle the moment. I'm going to give it to him to get to the finals, where I think Hargrove will take care of business.
All right. All right. So let's jump to 113. And we have a number of different individuals at 113. It's actually a really good weight with Tyler Prinzo, who was a state runner-up a year ago to Cohen Hargrove down at 106. You also have a 2A, I believe, 2A 106-pound state champion and Noah Brown from Gordon Lee. You got Cruz Floyd, Bryson Rutledge. You have a number of other state qualifiers in the group. One of the things we should have probably said at the very top of this is that 1A's got a lot of returning talent because of the mash of 2A down to 1A with some of the teams, like Toombs County coming down and
Yeah.
other teams coming down into 1A. So you now have some actual state champ versus state champ or state runner-up, state champ from last year in this situation where you're going to see different matchups. So how do you see 113?
113, really interesting weight. It mulled over who to pick where. Start with the dark horse again. I really like Jair Lopez out of Toombs. Dude's a senior. Again, you'll notice with me, ladies and gentlemen, something that will get picked a lot is your seniors, especially guys that have been to Macon. Because if you have never been to Macon, I used the comparison in the 3A video. It'd be like taking a guy who's a modern soldier and throwing him in a 1918 trench. It's cold, it's crappy, the food's overpriced. So if you're eating there, you're probably not eating much. You can't really get a good warm up. It's tight, it's packed. It's one of those things. Having been there helps because you try to figure out how to warm up, where to warm up. You start figuring out what works for you. Like
Right.
for me, before they blocked the doors off, I would always go through the gate through that side door into the hotel, and I would warm up in the hotel bottom lobby. That's where I would warm up.
You weren't the only one doing that.
Yeah, which is probably why they now blocked it off. And that's probably why. Um, but I'm gonna go with Burke or no, excuse me, Brown. Yeah, no, Brown out of Gordon Lee. Jesus, I'm looking at there another way. I'm gonna take Noah Brown out of Gordon Lee. Kid's a hammer. I'm gonna take him over Prinzo. I think that Prinzo Rutledge semifinal matchup is super interesting. Like I said, Jair Lopez in the mix. Another guy to watch out for, in my opinion, Cruz Floyd at Elbert. That kid can go. Lane Broom at a Tryon. I know he's a freshman. I know his record is iffy, but Tryon, every year they have one or two guys that they might come to the state tournament with an iffy record and they end up on the podium. So don't be surprised there. But yeah, I'm going to go with Brown over Prinzo in the final.
All right. Well, I also think you should keep an eye on Bryson Rutledge from Chattooga. He's another one to kind of keep an eye on as well, and a junior.
Sure.
So that's another person. All right. So if we now jump down to 120 pounds, we have we have returning state champions in both Cohen Hargrove of Social Circle and Grayson Cooper of Bremen. You've got state placers in Silas Mills of Tryon, Landon Carlton of Chattooga. You have a number of state qualifiers and Eric Jackson and many others in that group. This is again a weight class that has a lot of talent in it. It also has a pretty talented freshman in Walker Bunch from Toombs County and a few others in the group. I mean, this should be a pretty decent weight from the beginning, man. Like opening whistle.
For sure. For sure. It's a tricky one to pick because Grayson Cooper is a landmine. And I think it's important to mention, some of these guys, to put it bluntly, take dives. And if their sectional bracket looks good, they will medically forfeit. But if you notice in Walker Bunch's, or excuse me, Grayson Cooper's case, I'm clicking onto it right now. It looks as if he began the match with Walker Bunch and forfeited from there. So that's cause for concern of okay, this doesn't look like a kid that took a dive. This looks like something happened in the
Like
match.
maybe he
And
got hurt because we weren't there.
you never want to wish for injury. So I hope Grayson Cooper's 100%. I'm gonna take him as my dark horse because easy dark horse to pick.
Yeah, no, simple dark horse to pick, right? If he's
I
healthy.
need all the good picks I can get. And I'm going to go with Hargrove over Walker Bunch in the finals. I really like Walker Bunch, but man, it's tough to pick against Cohen Hargrove. That kid is a stud. It's tough to pick against him. I mean, you take a guy that goes up against Jose Cordero and takes him to the wire. I mean, come on. It's tough.
No, I'm with you. I am with you. And if I don't know if everybody knows the reference to Jose Cordero, but Cleveland, Tennessee state champion, absolute stud, everything else. So
I don't know,
yeah,
Cordero. Get your head out of the sand. Stayed away.
I know, but not everybody knows
It's
this.
a
I mean,
monster. Dude, it's a monster.
okay, fine. All right. So let's jump to 126 pounds and no returning state champions, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 returning state placers at the group. led by your state runner-up, Loudon Etheridge from Social Circle, who won his section. You have Hayden Johnson Jordan from Irwin County, who just always seems to have some athletes who can just go. He was a state placer last year. And then you've got some other individuals, Colby Stock, Elijah Carr, Jason Jenkins from Tryon, who took eighth. He was fourth last year, at the state tournament. But another state placer you probably want to keep an eye on, finished sixth, and I think he might have injury defaulted to sixth, is Wyatt Bunch of Toombs County. Another one who I think forfeited to Etheridge in the semis. Am I right?
I do believe so. This is one of those weights where my matrix spit me a really kind of odd pick. But I'm gonna rock with it actually. I'm gonna so my dark horse is gonna be Samson Dobbs from Commerce. That kid looks good. Finished second in his section. If you look through his season, has some pretty solid wins. All
Returning
of
state
his,
qualifier.
yep, returning state qualifier. I think he does enough this year. I mean, his losses last year, one of them was Carlton and the kid at Scriven who graduated but was tough. I'm gonna pick Etheridge to win it. Shout out Loudon Etheridge, love that kid to death. But in terms of the runner-up, and this is a field pick. I've seen him wrestle a couple of times. Give me Maddox Russell from Pepperell, the freshman. I wish I had a direct answer for you. My matrix likes him. I think it's his common opponents. He doesn't really get like dominated that often. He wrestles a tight match and he can go. He's a gamer. He's not scared to go. So I'm gonna give him the nod. Pepperell always has a guy or two that when they get to the state meet, they wrestle above their notch. And I I don't know if it's that. Maybe I'm thinking Haven out of Irwin, tough, obviously. Jenkins in the eight, that one of them's gonna knock each other off.
Yeah, those
He,
two returning state placers get each other first round.
he gets a tough match out of Carson Alexander, but my matrix has that as a winnable match for him. And then I don't know. I wish I had a more direct answer other than I just feel this one. So give me Maddox Russell to make the finals.
So in this, in
Maddox,
I love that
Maddox,
pick.
make me look like a genius. Make me look like a genius, please. Do the damn thing, kid.
Oh, somebody needs to make him look like a genius. People, come on.
You ain't lying.
This is a weight where, because Bunch, is in the sixth spot, you have Bunch and Stock are returning state placers in the first round. You got Johnson, Jordan, and Jenkins, who are state placers in the first round. I mean, there's going to be some battles, man, from the very, very beginning. This is going to be a good one. All right. 132 pounds. 132 pounds. Again, another weight class because of the mashup of between 1A and 2A. We have two state champions at the weight. James Seaver from Social Circle, Jonathan Westbury from Brantley County. Both were state champions a year ago. You also have a number of state placers in the group. Number of state qualifiers. Pace Lillenfeld from Mount Vernon is won their section. He's a returning state qualifier. But I'm going to be honest with you, and that is, I watched both these state champs wrestle down at the knockout. Westbury wrestled well, did not make the podium. James Severs nearly beat Christian Fretwell in the semifinals and made the podium, either taking third or fourth at the knockout. I was super impressed. I don't think that there is a bigger favorite necessarily than Mr. Severs, in my opinion.
I disagree with you. I mean, James Severs, I'm going to go as far as to say, I want to figure out how to word this. He's one of the most explosive wrestlers I've ever seen. In the sense of he can kind of lull you to sleep with his movements sometimes. Like, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. And Severs, please, this is my boy here. He can sometimes lull you to sleep, just kind of get you in a rhythm, get him moving, kind of bounce around, and then he'll start firing off these really impressive combos, these really impressive flurries that it's tough to gauge. It's tough to try to time and match. Kid's elite. In one word, elite. Give me Seaver to win it. Really interested to see a Morgan and Westbury probable quarterfinal
Yeah,
there with the
although Morgan
winner.
versus Carr is going to be a good first round match too. So, you're
Oh,
right.
that second quadrant's interesting because Jens Martin not going to draw as many eyes, but that dude can bang. Gordon Lee's a great program.
Yep.
I'm going to pick Jaden Brown at a Temple to get to the finals through the bottom, and
Hmm. Okay.
and then I'm gonna in my dark horse a little bit of an odd one. Give me David Eaton at a Wesleyan.
Oh, okay. All right.
That kid's worked his tail off. Finished sixth in the section, yes, but his losses, both two of his three losses are to Westbury. Those are two of his three losses. If you go through his season, Southern Slam wrestled well. I mean, he fought Stiltner and Mitchell. Those were his losses there. But even against Stiltner at a Baylor, he didn't get hammered per se. Did well at Archer, did well at Ringgold. Ringgold, his loss was to Black at a Lovett, who we talked about in their video. Kid's tough, kid's a gamer. I think he gets on the podium.
All right.
Yeah, but I think Severs over Brown. And I think I'm going to say this Brown's style is most possible to give Severs problems. I don't necessarily think it will, but if I'm looking just as a matchup, it is the most tricky matchup for James Severs.
All right. All right. I will make a point of saying, with your pick on Eaton, he's got Hedrick in the first round. That's a tough first round match. But your dark horse, you're not necessarily looking for them to necessarily win it. You're just looking for them to make a run to the podium. And that's why you're
Yeah.
picking somebody and that sort of thing. All right. So let's move now to 138 pounds, another weight class where we have two returning state champions, a two-time state champion, I believe, in CJ Duran from Social Circle. You have a state champion in Dalen Lowe from Brantley County. Those are your two sectional champions. But I'll tell you what, man, I mean, just look at the list of names that are also in that bracket. Luke Johnson from Bremen, Paris Crowder from Oglethorpe County. You got Chip Falbush from Mount Vernon, Gavin Carlton, who was sixth from Chattooga, Robert Axiom from Toombs County, who was fourth, Eaglin Hadelman, who was third. You have, what, seven returning state placers at the weight, and two of them were state champions last year. Man,
It's
how is that playing?
it's a hell of a weight. This might be my favorite weight in all of 1A. Okay. CJ Duran is my boy. Let's not hide it. Let's like been on my dual team from the dual team's inception. Love that kid to death. Love his family. Dude is a hard ass worker. He's finally started to fill into that slender man frame he has. Finally started to put some meat on the bones. Took him damn long enough. Um, I think he gets the job done over Lowe, and I think Lowe's a hammer, man. Lowe is not one to be taken lightly. Like that is by no means a easy out in the finals. In terms of my dark horse, just throw a dart at the bracket. You'll probably hit someone that you could label a dark horse. I'm gonna go with Carlton at a Chattooga. I
Yeah.
like the fact he's a senior. I like the fact that in previous state championships. He makes the finals a couple years ago in that loss to Nardella, where he beat Fleming. State placer as a freshman, where his losses were to I forget who, but not bad losses. The kid knows how to compete in Macon. He knows how to do well in Macon. 4 losses on the year to his name, 45 wins, some really solid wins in there too. I just think this is one of those where I'm just like, I think it's kind of it's an easy explanation why he is my dark horse.
Well, I think one of the things that I think everybody should also keep in mind, and sometimes you get lulled into under like getting in love with records, and you look at CJ Duran, he's 42-7 on the year. You got Dalen Lowe's 35-3 on the year. Neither one of them come in with a zero in the loss column. But the reason they don't is both of their teams went to the knockout this year. Social Circle routinely hosts what the grappler duels, elite duels with like some of the best programs in all the classes and everything else. That only makes it that those individuals so much more battle tested by this point in time.
I think that that's what matters in a lot of situations is is someone battle tested and really ready to go.
Right. Well, and I think a lot of people who don't necessarily know, they look and go, oh, well, that kid's got 7 losses. Well, his 7 losses might have been against some absolute hammers. So, like you were mentioning
Yeah,
previously,
that's one of those where it's
you
like, yeah,
know,
he has 7 losses, but if they went to Southern Slam, Knockout, and Cleveland, it's like, all right, so who is he losing to?
right, right, exactly. Exactly. My point is that, these are, yeah. I know your average fan, though, if they're watching, they're like, that kid's undefeated. Well, undefeated is fantastic, but that doesn't necessarily mean that
And
they're the best kid at the weight.
and I think that's a really important point to make, specifically in one where no disrespect to some of these smaller schools. Please, no one take what I'm saying as me being a big school bias. What I'm saying is a lot of these smaller schools, because of funding, a small roster size, they don't have the opportunity to go to a lot of these bigger tournaments. So that means they wrestle a lot more local events where the talent is just simply not as deep in a lot of situations. Or maybe they're traveling to Southern Alabama where you'll get some good guys, don't get it twisted, but it's not like going to the knockout. It's not like going to Southern Slam. It's not like going to Cleveland or the Cheesehead or any of these types of events.
Yeah.
So it's tricky where record that's where my matrix comes in for me. And that's where I look at, okay, this guy's 31-0, but the winning percentage of the guys he's beat is 37 and a half.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
okay. What does
Yeah.
that really tell me?
Well, what it tells you is you don't know really how good he is.
Yeah,
He's beaten
exactly.
all the kids he's supposed to beat, but he hasn't necessarily beat somebody who is a top echelon wrestler.
Yeah.
So
I'm
it's
not going to name who. There is a guy in 1A who's undefeated, and the winning percentage of all the guys he wrestled is 42 and a half. And it's like, okay, like, what do I do with this? Like, this information doesn't help me.
I wonder if anybody can figure out who that is. I don't know who that is, but I'm interesting. All right, let's move on to
Oh,
144 pounds.
quit. That wasn't in 1A. It's a guy in the state of Georgia. I
Oh,
should
it wasn't
have
1A.
done that.
Okay,
My
all
bad.
right, all right.
Oh, he might be in 1A, but he might not be in 1A.
All right.
It could be anywhere.
144 pounds.
About that.
Again, we have this
About that.
mashup of individuals. You have seven returning state placers again. There's some talented names. Ronnie Marlowe from Heard County, Coleman Lee, Addison Cawthorn, Tyson Brantley, Hogan Sims, Landon Brown. A lot of really, really talented individuals. But I mean, I'll be honest with you. Two-time defending state champion, headed to West Point, Connor Doherty from Mount Pisgah, they go lots of places. They wrestle really good competition, and he has faced some really good competition. He's beaten some really good individuals. He's lost to some really good individuals, but he is got to be your favorite walking into making for hunting his third state title.
Yeah, I think this is one of those really easy ones where it's, hey, you got a guy like Connor Doherty in that bracket who's a stud. I'm picking Marlowe at Herd to get to the finals, meet him there. And my dark horse is going to be Hogan Sims at a Commerce, but I think this one is kind of, I hate to be that way, but this one's kind of just cut and dry. We know who's who in this bracket.
Well, and I love that dark horse pick Hogan Sims. Challenge with Hogan is like right off the bat, he gets a Logan Johnson from Bremen who was on this podium a year ago. So, I mean, we're talking about, again, we've said it over and over again in 1A. You start off with some tough matches and you get tough matches all the way through. So it's the way it works. All right, jumping to 150 pounds. We've got some really talented individuals again. Jackson Douglas of Wesleyan. You have a returning state champion in Davin Wadley from Toombs County. Cale Prater, Case Hanley, number of different individuals. But I don't know that there is a more talented freshman in the Southeast, not just in the state of Georgia, but in the Southeast. And that includes individuals like a Giovanni Solis down in Florida. That includes some individuals. I have watched Harrison Murdoch wrestle just a couple of times. I am incredibly impressed with how good he is. And you know what?
I was about to say you're saying some big words here, Bucko. You're
It's
saying some big words.
I'm not putting a lot of pressure. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on anybody or anything else. I think he can totally handle it. But if you go back and look at what he did in his sectional and Christian Heritage, I don't know that they wrestled a ton of people, but again, I mean, just an absolute just an absolute monster. He's a very talented individual. So that's my take on it. What do you see?
Just for reference, I mean, I will very much admit I have yet to put eyes on Harrison Murdoch. But what I do know about him, I mean, I remember at Club Fest, there was the talk about him because he beat Bradley Williams, beat Yannick Simon, went to Grappler, had a great run. I'm picking Murdoch to win this bracket. Give me Cale Prater to get through a absolute minefield. I mean, the possibility of having Wadley in the quarters and then seeing either Douglas or Anderson, in my opinion. Either way, I think he'll get through there. In terms of a dark horse, I'm gonna kind of go off the beaten path here. Cooper Exabuth Jones. This family to me continues to be one that they put out great wrestlers of both genders and of all age and weight areas. And I think we'll see him get to the podium as a freshman. He's got a good run. Should he beat Naish, his drop isn't horrible. He gets through there. He'll probably see maybe a Muzafarzov out of Idalia, maybe an Anderson or a Douglas. So it's to me, I think he has a good enough drop where you might see him make the podium. So there's my dark horse.
That would be a heck of an accomplishment being a freshman in the weight that is filled with just, I mean, another talented freshman, but a lot of upperclassmen who have been here and have been on the podium previously. So,
For sure.
all right, we jumped to 157 pounds. Another weight, so we've kind of bounced back and forth. We've had two state champions in some weights. We've had no state champions in others. This is a weight that features a lot of individuals who have been on the podium, but nobody who's ever won it before. Jace Parent lost to Mason Gillespie, I think, last year in the state finals. Dane Kroc from Social Circle was third a year ago. He is the Section A champion. But again, this is a group of individuals that has Caden Atkins, Christian Lang, Bryson Hughes, Clayton Lothridge, a lot of good individuals at the weight. How is this one playing out?
This weight's nuts. Especially in 1A. This weight class is very surprising, but very fun to look at. My dark horse here is gonna be Lothridge. And it's even odd to call him a dark horse, but comes out of his section third. Has a couple of weird losses on the year. I'll admit that. A loss to Slatton out of Gordon Lee that I wouldn't have expected him to take. A loss to Atkins at Armucci, who's a dog in his own right, who he would possibly see in the quarters. The pick on this one is tough. I'm gonna say this, and I want this kid to prove me wrong. And I know I can hear Tyree Edits and the Level Up Crusade texting me as I say this. I can hear it. I can hear Tyree Edits texting. I can hear it. Like it's so audible in my brain. Yes, I can hear it. And this, call me social circle bias. I will admit to that. The one thing you gotta admit about me is I've never not admitted when I do have biases to a school. Give me Dane Kratt over Jace Parent in the final in what I think will be a barn burner.
All right. All right.
Jace, prove me wrong, Jace. I love you. Like, prove me wrong, please. Like, it's just I go back and forth with this one. Tyree, light my ass up in my DMs. Go ahead.
So, you just mentioned Level Up, and I want to take a second and acknowledge that Level Up is also one of the sponsors for the state tournament this year. Shout out to Donovan Pannone and that entire crew. We appreciate them stepping up and being a sponsor, as well as a number of different other individuals. I want to give a shout out real quick to Amber Cloy, who takes tons of pictures, shares those pictures, with everyone and everything else. She just does a great job of, capturing all the action at the state tournament and everything else. So anyway, all right, moving on to 165 pounds. We do have a returning state champion here. That state champion lost in his section finals to a extremely talented Lucas Coley from Toombs County. I'm actually talking about Mason Gillespie, who was a returning state champ, who took second. That puts really some talented individuals who were section champs and section runners up on the same sides of the bracket. Miles Mason, who was the section B champ, now could face Gillespie down on that side of the bracket. Lucas Colley and Davian Knox from Banks County are both returning state placers as well, and they're going to probably share the same side of the bracket. So how do you think Gillespie gets his revenge and makes a run to the title? Do you think he's the favorite? Who's your dark horse? Or is there somebody off the beaten path that you think might surprise everybody?
So, all of those questions, the answer is kind of. So in one respect, my dark horse is Tracy Palmer out of Bremen, 33-13 on the year as a freshman. His first round draw is nothing heinous. He gets through that. He wrestles a Miles Mason, who he very well could beat. I see that in his range. But even if he doesn't, his drop isn't too bad. I think we'll see him get to the podium. Another one I want to mention is James Slatton, but Slatton's drop looks a little scarier to me. I think we see Coley and Gillespie in the finals. And I kind of went back and forth on this because I usually, in a situation like this, I usually would hedge to the senior getting his revenge from sectionals in Macon. But Lucas Coley took care of him 12-5 in everything that, from what I was told, was a pretty dominant performance. I'm going to take Lucas Coley, but if Mason Gillespie turns that around and wins it, I'm not, it's not a shocker to me.
Well, and if you haven't seen the Mason Gillespie picture from last year after he won, it is absolutely fantastic. I expect to see that same picture if he wins again. So
Probably.
I don't know if you saw it. Did you see that picture before?
I did not.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. I'll have to find it and send it to you. All right. 175 pounds. A couple of returning placers at the weight with Lane Vaughn from Gordon Lee, Brady Robinson, who is returning state runner up, Eli Ryder, who I think is in a dangerous spot for everybody in the number 5 spot from Haralson County. Some state qualifiers in there as well. You have a section champ in Ryder Schaltenbrand, from Mount Perrin. But this weight is we're seeing again a 2A state champ make a drop down to 1A, and Gabriel Hightower, who he's just been really superb. I mean, he wrestles super tough, and I would think that he's probably the favorite.
Yeah, Hightower is the favorite here to me. Dude's an animal. He really is just a tough guy to game plan for, especially in the guys that are going to be in 1A. Give me Hightower to win it. Give me Lane Vaughn at a Gordon Lee to get to the finals. Meet him there. In terms of my dark horse, went back and forth, but give me Caden McWilliams out of Commerce. I like that kid a lot. Sophomore, had a pretty solid run this season. None of his losses are really too concerning to me. He's been to the state tournament. He knows what it's like. And I'm gonna continue to make that. That's a point that matters to me is having been to state. Um, his section loss is Shelton Brand. I think that's not as not particularly a problem. As I don't think he'll see him again. But yeah, give me McWilliams as my dog horse.
All right. Well, and as he picks McWilliams as his dark horse, I have actually finished the media guide, my media guide that will drop on Tuesday or Wednesday for 1A. And he is also my dark horse. Ryder is actually my bracket buster for the bracket. But if you want to check that out, you can go and download it. It's 50 pages of just tons of information about the 1A classification. All right, 190 pounds. We are headlined up top by returning state champion, and again, a 2A state champion, making the move down, Jack Godby from Vidalia. I've been very impressed all year long with Steele Brown from Mount Pisgah. He's a returning state placer. He won Section B. Got Robert McCoy in there. Got Travis Abernathy, Evan McLean from Commerce. Number of different individuals. You mentioned before we jumped on Xavier Colclaw's path, and that's actually pretty much the way we look at it. Is you could be amongst one of the best, but man, if your path you get different obstacles along the way, you got to have
quarterfinal. That quarter down there is disgusting. Steele Brown is an animal. Xavier, I've had the pleasure of coaching Big X on one of my dual teams. That dude can go and has only gotten better from the summer. They were actually teammates on my dual team, funnily enough. And then you have Luke Edwards, who can go in his own right.
Yeah.
Whoever comes out of that bottom side is going to be ready. My dark horse is Big X. He is a scary guy to have to wrestle. He's so big and so fast and so technically sound because again, you're from Social Circle. You're gonna be well coached. Semifinals to me look like McCoy and Brown, which that is a tantalizing matchup. Probably McLean and Godby. Give me Godby to get to the finals and get over on Steele Brown in the finals.
All right. I think that's probably how it plays out. But you know what, guys? It doesn't matter what we say. It doesn't matter even what we think. You know what? You guys are all going to determine how this all plays out. So, go out and prove us wrong. I would love to make actually a bunch of shirts or whatever that says I proved Fat and Scrappy wrong or something along those lines.
We absolutely should do that. Babe, put it on the idea list. Put it on the idea list.
All right. Or we could say Fat and Scrappy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about or something like that.
We got to do either shirts or gimmicks that say, like, I proved Fat and Scrappy wrong and bring him to state next year.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you, my love.
All right. So let's jump to 215 pounds. This is a really interesting one in that you have a returning state champion in Malcolm Burris from Fitzgerald, but he took third in his in his section. If we're looking at the scores right and everything else, man, I'll tell you what, I think it was Will Mealer who really took care of business against him. Am I right?
That's what it looked like to me.
At
least as far as I saw.
Yeah. Anyway, Will Mealer is one of the returning state placers. Tyshawn Wiggins is a returning state placer. You got a tough Dylan Evans from Social Circle in there. Again, you have a number of different individuals. Sitting down in a number 6 spot out of Section A is Robert Erickson from Lamar County. He's a returning state placer, was 30 years ago. Again, this is another weight that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Two individuals who weren't at state last year, Tucker Buchanan and Praise Chain, are also two other individuals that you probably should keep an eye on.
Oh, for sure. I mean, this bracket from top to bottom is kind of it's filled with minefields. I'm going to take Burris as my dark horse. Pretty easy one. As well as quick shout out to Christian Tarver from Swainsboro. I know not going to draw as many eyes, but that dude can go. In the finals, give me Wiggins over Mealer.
I love it. I love it. Wiggins certainly has um, been in with some really talented individuals. So, and he's a senior, so that'll be interesting. All right, and I think Mealer he was a state placer, but he wasn't a state placer, and he wasn't at Heard County last year. I think he was somewhere in like 3A or something, 3A or 4A. Anyway, all right.
Give me 1 second. I can tell you.
Can
I
you
can
tell?
tell you.
I don't remember.
No, last year it says Heard County.
Was it really?
That's what it says.
Well, you know what? I could be wrong. All right. Wouldn't be the first time. And now we have our heavyweights. And I'm going to be honest with you. We've talked about, we've talked about,
Just, I mean,
we've
just
talked
gonna
about
be
a lot of
honest.
like really deep weights and everything else. And this has got some good individuals. Gary Morton's a returning state runner-up. Riley Fuller's a returning state placer. But the truth of the matter is, everyone who was a section champ or a section runner-up, I don't have them down as having been to state before, or at least last year. So the one thing I will say is it doesn't surprise me to see another Irwin County heavyweight win a sectional and be right there. Man, what do they do with those heavyweights out in Irwin County?
I don't know. It is odd every year to see that.
I mean, a couple of years ago it was what, DJ Lundy. He now plays like linebacker for Florida State. Last year you had I can't remember his name. He was in the state finals. Maybe 2 years in a row he was in the state finals. So
Think
Mike
so.
Pointer, yeah. So how is this playing out, man? I know you threw darts, but how is it playing?
Yeah, I mean, so my darts are going to land on Edmerson at a Bremen, the sophomore. He's going to be my dark horse. Give me Walden to get to the finals where he sees Fears. And let me take Elijah Fears to win the state title. I'll go with it because damn it, Irwin keeps just mass producing elite heavyweights, it seems like. So
They do. Yeah, well, and I think the other thing that you should keep in mind is if you look back at area, right? Walden from Dublin, according to what I have in front of me, he didn't win his area, right? He lost in the area to somebody who took 7th in the sectional, right? Fears did win his area, but you have a number of individuals. There are a couple individuals who took 4th in their area. So what that tells
this week
you,
call heavyweight, baby.
Who knows what's going to happen?
Brother, it is heavyweight in 1A. I mean, you never know. This is one of the hardest ones to pick every year. Like, even with Lundy and them, to a certain extent, it's like, man, if they trip and fall, like, I'm gonna shut up. Point being,
you know what? A heavyweight gets on their back, and that's just the way things work. You can be winning by 12 points, and if something happens,
you ever see a turtle try to get off their back?
You ever see me try to get? No. All right. So let's now move to Social Circle is definitely your favorites as far as the team race goes, but you're going to give me your top 5, right?
Yep, like I always do. I have Bremen and Toombs kind of in the same spot, looking for that 5, for that 5th place. Give me Commerce in 4th. Give me Vidalia in 3rd. Give me Pisgah to come runners up, and then give me Social Circle to win the title. One team I do want to mention, Gordon Lee has enough guys where if they could get like Brown and them into the finals and win, Gordon Lee could very well finish top.
Wow. Okay. All right. I love it. I will say it's going to be really interesting. I think 2 through 5, 6, 7 is going to be pretty close. Toombs County made a run to the dual finals opposite social circle. But if you look at this traditional like bracket and people, it's gonna be getting onto the podium. Like sixth place is gonna give some team enough points, it's gonna make a difference.
This is where these dark horses are going to come into play big time.
Yeah, and you picked several commerce dark horses in this, so
Yeah. And the other thing is, this is where Social Circle and the draws they got could help or hurt you. Because if you have a guy that's decent, but they drew Cohen Hargrove in the second round, your drop might screw you.
it could,
Like this is, you know what I mean? So this is one of those where, as well, you also kind of need a little bit of help from Social Circle.
no doubt. All right. All right. Lucas, I appreciate you jumping in 1A. And yeah, everybody, if you have enjoyed 1A, we did 2A and 3A. We were also doing 4A, 5A, and 6A. I did the girls with Genevieve on. And it was we just love to talk wrestling. And honestly, we want to wish everybody the best of luck. And you know what? If you don't agree, that's great. Go out and do it. Go out and show that you're the person who should be winning a state title.
Yeah,
Lucas loves to
please
be
shut me
wrong.
up.
Lucas
I have
loves.
no issue with it.
All right, man. Take care.
See ya.